Hi, I'm Charlotte, and this is Chatting with Charlotte, where I share conversations, life hacks, and inspirations to help you on your healing journey from childhood trauma. So today is part 2 of my series entitled Grief is Complicated. And today I want to talk about a common thing that occurs during the grief process. And that is asking the questions, why and what if? Which is commonly known as bargaining. But I want to just talk about it not so much as a stage of grief, but just what that was like for me and a couple of tips on how maybe you can help yourself move past that as it happens, because it will recur. I mean, grief is not a one and done thing where you go through the stages and okay, everything's fine. And anybody that has experienced loss knows that. Grief can hit you at any time. And that's why I said grief is complicated. But right now I'm talking about those initial moments of after a death, the days, weeks right after someone has died. And also to when the grief over things you lost because of childhood trauma. They're very similar. So why and what if? I know you've asked those questions. We all have. Why did they die so young? Why didn't the abuse stop? If I did this, it would have stopped. If I could have just been a perfect child, they wouldn't have continued to hurt me. Or if I'd done this or that, he would not have died. And all of those things happen, and they can haunt us literally for weeks. And so when John died, I did that for a good while. But fortunately, I had people in my life that kind of held me accountable and kept me from staying there. And they reminded me that it wasn't my fault that he died. And if I had checked on him sooner, it probably would not have made any difference. And that at some point you have to accept the fact that you're probably not going to know the why, and that all the what ifs are not going to change what happened. And so you then begin to regroup and figure, okay, so now how am I going to live my life without knowing why? Well, for me, what happened, and I talked about this on Monday as well, is that a really good way to do that is to remember the good things and talk about that with people. Talk to people who knew the person. Talk to people who knew you as a child if you can, and recall good things, recall good memories, and laugh. And it's okay to laugh in the midst of grief. It's really okay to do that, to laugh about the funny things, to laugh about the quirky things that were unique to your loved one. There's an individual here at the retirement community that I live in who recently lost her husband. And her husband, he was a character. And he teased people all the time. And today we were talking at breakfast and she was sharing some of that. And, I saw her smile a little bit because it's good for you to do that. And it's okay and it's very healthy. And so it helps you to move forward by remembering those good memories and smiling about those things, even though you miss them terribly. I mean, I miss his voice. I miss his text messages that says, how you be, or how's it, or what, and he would do that every day. And I miss that. And sometimes even now, 8 years later, I do. And so I no longer focus on the why, and I no longer focus on the what ifs, because that doesn't get me anywhere. And so as you're grieving, remember those things. Remember that there are things about that person, there are things even in a traumatic childhood that brought you some sense of comfort and can bring you to a place of peace, even in the midst of grief. And I would just encourage you to focus on that. And when you feel you're getting stuck in the what ifs and the why, because most likely you're not going to know the why. And as I said, the what ifs aren't going to make any difference. So those are just a few thoughts about that aspect of grief. I hope it was helpful to you. And stay tuned for Friday when I talk about another aspect of grief. And I hope that these are helpful to you and bring you some comfort. I want to remind you to subscribe if you haven't already, and to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss anything, and that my book is available on Amazon. It's called What Kind of Love Is This? And I talk about my journey to healing. And hope that you will take time to order that as well. Until next time, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye now.